Elon Musk announced he is suing former Congressman Jamal Bowman, who appeared on television last week, saying that Elon Musk, quote, is incompetent, he's a thief, he's a Nazi, and people don't trust him, period, unquote. Let's see. Incompetent. The IRS is expected to bring in 10% less in tax revenue next month due to the Doja layoffs. So, yeah, I'll say incompetent. Yeah. He's a thief. Well, there are about 35 federal investigations looking into Elon Musk's companies, SpaceX, Tesla, Twitter, and Neuralink, where he's been accused of defrauding investors as well as discrimination and violating environmental and civil rights laws. So thief is a tough one to prove, especially since Elon's firing all the people who could exonerate him. A Nazi. He did flash the Nazi salute twice, and he supports the Alternative for Germany party, which is lousy with neo-Nazis. Since purchasing Twitter, he reinstated accounts belonging to self-professed Nazis, sometimes even retweeting these self-professed Nazis. So on that, the question isn't so much is Elon Musk a Nazi, the question is, would he be offended by calling him a Nazi? And what's the last part of the statement he's suing over? Quote, and people don't trust him. People don't trust Elon Musk. You mean the guy who bemoans the cancel culture and calls himself an uncompromising champion of freedom of speech, but threatens to sue anyone who criticizes him? People don't trust him? Well, I don't trust Elon Musk, and I'm a people. I don't know. I don't see anything in that statement which is libelous. I don't know, Elon. I think threatening to sue anyone who criticizes you is kind of douchey. That's my opinion. Jasmine Crockett, the Texas Democrat who sits on the Department of Government Efficiency Oversight Committee, joined an online event last week calling for taking Tesla down. And it was sponsored by the group called the Tesla Takedown Movement, which calls for peaceful resistance, urging Americans to stop buying Teslas, urging stockholders to sell their shares in the company. Nonviolent. Perfectly First Amendment. In her speech to this group, Crockett said, quote, on March 29th, it's my birthday, and all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down, unquote. Does that sound violent to you? She added, taken down peacefully. She said, and I quote, the things that we're fighting for, we are fighting for our country, we are fighting for democracy, we're fighting for our freedom, and when I say fighting, I am saying that figuratively. She went on to say, obviously, everything that I'm promoting is nonviolent, and so definitely don't want anyone to take that word literal in any way, unquote. Of course, J.D. Vance took her comments out of context and said, quote, the people attacking Teslas are trying to send the message that if you support President Trump, they will commit acts of violence to try to intimidate you. Our message to them, terrorists in this country will be brought to justice, unless, of course, you storm the Capitol on January 6. And now, Attorney General Pam Bondi on Fox News Sunday had this message for Congresswoman Crockett, quote, she is an elected public official, so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk, and we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout our country. Wow, protecting Tesla owners. That sounds kind of DEI, if you ask me. They're protecting Tesla owners. No protections from this Justice Department for the LGBT community, blacks or Muslims, but it's time to invoke the Alien Enemies Act for anyone who so much as criticizes Elon Musk. I guess that's what $300 million buys you in this country. Now, personally, I will not support any of Elon Musk's products. I don't go on Twitter. I would never buy a Tesla. I sold my SpaceX rocket and just had my brain surgeon remove the Neuralink chip that allows me to speak fluent German. And I suggest you all do the same. Some good news, the Pope returned to the Vatican after a 5-week hospitalization fighting off double pneumonia. The Pope is 88, and yet nobody is saying he should step down. Why? Because with frailty comes wisdom, and it's why I never thought Joe Biden should have been forced to quit. Bernie Sanders on Sunday telling ABC News, quote, "I'm 83 and I'm tired." But is he? Is he tired? Can Bernie run for president in his mid to late 80s? Stranger things have happened. Never underestimate America's thirst for something that's new, something strange, like a guy in his late 80s serving as president. We like strange. We just elected a president who ordered an insurrection and has to pay E. Jean Carroll more than $80 million for defamation and, as the judge said in that case, rape in common law parlance. Donald Trump is a common law parlance rapist. The Denver Post reporting Bernie and AOC drawing 30,000 at the Denver Civic Center for their Fighting Oligarchy tour. This is how it's done from the ground up. When Goldwater lost by a landslide in 1964, his constituents, the John Birchers, the racists, and the crazy right-wingers, they hit all 50 states quietly, working their mailing lists, holding local meetings, and within 16 years, they launched the Reagan Revolution, which nobody in D.C. ever saw coming. This is what the progressives are doing right now, what Bernie and AOC, what Wisconsin progressive Mark Pocan is doing. They're going into not just purple districts, they're going into red ones and making the case for the Democratic Party, the case for a version of the Democratic Party that speaks to everyone. Bernie Sanders saying he's never seen crowds this large, even when he was running for president. He called the record crowd size in Denver total insanity. In her speech, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez told the people of Denver, quote, "An extreme concentration of power and corruption is taking over this country like never before. A better world is possible." Bernie and AOC interrupted repeatedly by crowds chanting, "Tax the rich." The Fighting Oligarchy tour started on Thursday, 3,200 coming to see Bernie and AOC Thursday in Las Vegas, then 15,000 in Arizona, then 11,300 in Greeley, Colorado, and then 23,000 in Tucson, Arizona on Saturday for the final leg of this tour. These are record crowds for any candidate. So I voted for Kamala Harris, but she wasn't my first choice. The same way Joe Biden wasn't my first choice. My first choice is and remains Bernie. I like Bernie. I'll take Bernie incapacitated by old age over anyone in Washington. I have said there are seasons to politics. There's a season for Democrats to bite the bullet, put away our differences, unite, and defeat the Republicans. So, when Joe Biden dropped out, even though I said it was a mistake, I went all in on Kamala Harris. In the lead up to the convention, I even apologized for saying I didn't think Harris would make a strong enough candidate against Trump. I apologized for relying on polling that told me she was a weaker candidate than Joe Biden. If I'm wrong, I will admit it. Well, I was wrong for saying I was wrong about her being a weaker candidate than Joe Biden. Now, if you go back and listen to my shows after Biden's disastrous debate, I said he's still the only Democrat who has a chance against Trump. I showed you the polling on this. I said, let's keep him on the ticket, wrap him in a cocoon, protect him, celebrate how great Kamala Harris is standing in the wings, how ready she will be if something, God forbid, happens, and make November's election a choice between Donald Trump's insanity and Joe Biden's senility. I said it was going to be a tough, down and dirty fight to get Joe Biden reelected. I said, in the end, I have faith senility beats insanity. And then Harris became the nominee. It was a new day. Suddenly the election became hers to lose, and she picked Tim Walz, which was a genius choice. But here's what she did wrong. She didn't placate the Bernie wing of the Democratic Party. Bernie endorsed her, went out on the stump for her, but she didn't want him. She didn't do any major appearances with Bernie or AOC. She was way more interested in the billionaire Mark Cuban. Instead of Bernie, instead of AOC or Elizabeth Warren, she had neoliberals like Mark Cuban assuring working class voters in Arizona that there would be no wealth tax. The mistake Kamala Harris made is she was frozen in 2020. She ran the same campaign Joe Biden ran in 2020. She ran the same campaign Obama ran in 2008. Light on promises, heavy on hope. But here's what she did that eventually sealed her doom. She didn't grasp that there was a different electorate. Voters, especially in the Democratic Party, who wanted more than just amorphous hope. Now, Bernie almost got the nomination in 2020. The Democratic establishment had to unite to defeat him in South Carolina in 2020, and they gave it to Joe Biden. But Biden was smart. He knew he couldn't win without the Bernie insurgency, so he made a deal. He said to Bernie, support me, and I promise to end up being the most progressive president this country ever elected. Now, you might have quarrels with Joe Biden, but according to Bernie, Joe Biden turned out to be the most progressive president since FDR. Not my words, Bernie's. I know, two old white men. I get it. But Bernie and Biden are way more progressive than Kamala Harris. Before he dropped out, Joe Biden was running a way more progressive re-election campaign than Kamala Harris ended up running when she became the nominee for president. Harris made a strategic mistake, distancing herself from the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. And I kept saying she's not doing enough to placate Bernie. A lot of my listeners took exception to that, wrote to me and said, it's a new day. Bernie's old. He's no longer the kingmaker. She doesn't have to kiss his ring. I wasn't asking her to kiss Bernie's ring, and neither was Bernie. But she was running as a centrist with no real promises, while Trump was saying tax cuts, tariffs, no taxes on tips, no taxes on Social Security, and the largest mass deportation in American history. Can you tell me what a vote for Kamala Harris meant? Can you, in the comment section, articulate in one or two words her promise for America? Now, had she won, I do not doubt she would have continued Joe Biden's lurch towards the progressive wing of the party, although I'm not 100% certain. But had she won, I'd be saying right now she was right for running for president like it was 2020. Kamala Harris did not do well. It was close, but she should have been able to defeat Donald Trump. She got 75 million votes in the 2024 presidential election, which is 6.2 million fewer votes than Joe Biden got in 2020. Joe Biden got about 81 million votes. She got 75 million votes. Biden was the better candidate. Donald Trump in 2024 got, let's give him 77 million votes in 2024. That's about 5.5 million fewer votes than Joe Biden got in 2020. Biden was a stronger candidate than Harris, than Trump. And he won Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in 2020. North Carolina almost became a swing state in 2024. There were, on the map in 2024, 6 swing states. Georgia didn't have any down ballot races, okay? North Carolina did. I bring that up because she lost 4 of the 5 swing states where the Democratic Party's down ballot Senate or gubernatorial candidate won their race. Do you realize how bad that is? So Georgia didn't have any down ballot candidates, but North Carolina went for the Democratic candidate for governor, Josh Stein. Kamala lost North Carolina. Arizona elected the Democrat Ruben Gallego to serve in the Senate. She lost Arizona. Nevada reelected Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen. Harris lost Nevada. Michigan elected Democratic Senator Elise Slotkin. Harris lost Michigan. Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin reelected in Wisconsin. Harris loses Wisconsin. Only in Pennsylvania did Kamala Harris do as poorly as her down ballot counterpart in the Democratic Party. Democrat Senate candidate Bob Casey lost his reelection bid in Pennsylvania. Again, she didn't lose by a landslide. All these races were close. She could have won, but she didn't make promises to the working class, to the working poor. She really didn't. If you disagree with me, leave a comment. She really didn't offer anything to the voters for whom this economy doesn't quite work. Trump did. He offered revenge. He offered to punish people. Harris offered nothing but the promise of a promise. Meanwhile, Bernie is a force to be reckoned with. And you see Tim Walz is hitting the campaign trail right now. Not seeing too much of Kamala Harris. There's talk she might run for governor of California. And Bernie, interestingly enough, seems to be tacking to the center. On Sunday, he told ABC News that Biden should have done a better job stopping the flow of migrants into America. I disagree with Bernie. Biden should have done a better job explaining that unless we start bringing in more people to this country, then Social Security, Medicare, and our entire economy will collapse. We are about to suffer a major population implosion with cataclysmic consequences, plunging our nation into a permanent recession like Japan, because when rich countries have shrinking populations, their GDP shrink with them. I know Japan came out of the recession, but they have a population implosion. They really can't grow their economy. Germany understood this 10 years ago. It's why they took in the Syrian migrants. You need warm bodies to keep the economy going. The New York Times reporting Bernie seems to be indicating he approves of Trump's tough border policy. He told ABC News, quote, "Nobody thinks illegal immigration is appropriate," unquote. Bernie using the term illegal immigration, I guess, is good news and bad news. The bad news is he's reversed his position. He used to say the term illegal immigrant is a pejorative because there's nothing illegal about being in this country without documentation. That's a fact. It's a civil, not a criminal offense to be in this country without documentation. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. You cannot be arrested for not having papers, and Bernie knows that. That's the bad news. The good news is Bernie's playing politics, which means he's reading polls. He sees the American people are too bigoted and stupid to have a serious conversation about migrants, and he wants to win the midterms and possibly run for president in 2028 when he'll be pushing 90, and I hope he does. As I said earlier, stranger things have happened, and this country loves strange. Bernie seems to be taking a page from Trump's antagonistic playbook. Here he is being interviewed by Jonathan Karl of ABC News, who is a tremendous reporter and a great writer, one of my favorites. If you want to read great reporting about politics, pick up any of the books by Jonathan Karl. Here is Bernie being asked about Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez challenging Chuck Schumer in 2028 for New York Senate.
Do you see her as a future of the progressive?
We have one of the untold stories
Yeah.
of what's going on in current American politics is that in the House of Representatives, you have dozens and dozens of strong, smart, disciplined, hardworking young people in the Progressive Caucus. And way back when I first came to the Congress and the House, I helped form the Progressive Caucus. We had 5 people in it at that time. Now they got close to 100. So you got a whole lot of good people. Alexandria is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join you in the Senate?
Right now we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
Well, I asked you.
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there.
Yeah, fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier. I mean, I want to ask you about your future. This is the biggest crowd. You said you ran for president twice. This is the biggest crowd you've ever seen. Are we going to see you run again? Or what's your future?
Right now, I'm very proud that the people of the state of Vermont sent me back to the Senate with 63% of the vote. Right now, I'm Vermont Senator. That's what I do, and I'm very happy to do it. I am 83 years of age, and I'm tired.
Does he sound tired? Doesn't sound tired to me, and he's not messing around.